want to welcome Koya Webb. Koya, welcome aboard.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
All right, likewise. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. So we know about the journey that you're on, but every journey has a beginning. So tell our listening audience out there, you grew up in the small town of Humboldt, Tennessee. For those that have never been to the area or not familiar with it, tell our audience what was your upbringing like growing up?
My upbringing was, just country. We're a family of 6, my mom and dad, and I have an older brother, a younger brother, and a younger sister. And we were your typical, just rambunctious kids. I don't know how my mom and dad put up with us. I was a tomboy, personally. I'd run outside half naked half the time, climbing trees, playing. We didn't have any water parks, so we'd use the water hose and spray each other down when it got too hot. And we just had fun. So my upbringing was very, country, out in nature. My mom would educate us before we went to school. She would teach us about, different cultures. I always remember she told us she got my name specifically from an African name book, and she went to Ghana, so she would teach us Swahili and sing to us and make obstacle courses in the backyard. I would make mud pies because I couldn't come in the kitchen and cook with her. And my upbringing was really, really humble. Again, we had a lot of land that we inherited from my grandfather, but we lived in a trailer until I was about 12. And then when I was 12, we moved to a bigger house that my father and his contractors built. And I grew up Southern Baptist, so very much in the church and believing in God. I got baptized when I was between 12 and 14. And I very much just really believe you should treat others how you would want to be treated. Try not to lie, steal, and cheat, and just, generally just be a good person. And I went to high school in Humboldt High School. It's just a small town, a couple stoplights. Our biggest grocery store was Piggly Wiggly, which is hilarious because I'm plant-based vegan now. So, but yeah, Piggly Wiggly didn't have avocados. It was very much a meat and potatoes, few vegetables type of town. But my mom would make sure that we had a home-cooked meal. She made sure that we ate fruits and vegetables growing up. But we had our share of snack cakes and Twinkies and moon pies and all the things. So I really had a humble upbringing. I had access to, everything a small town girl would have access to.
Continuing on with your humble upbringing, let's talk about your introduction to sports. Now, you mentioned about you and your siblings being out and being very active. What was the moment that hit for you when you said that I could participate in sports? Like, I'm a really good athlete. Was it something that took place from a family member, or did someone put you into maybe a recreation league, or how did that happen?
Well, I lived in the country, so that's outside of town. So it was a pain for my parents to have to take me to any type of basketball or camps or anything like that. So I really didn't get involved in any type of sport or even think about anything until junior high. And, of course, I'm a tall girl. I'm 5'11", so everyone's like, oh, you're tall. You should model. You should play basketball. I got those comments all the time. In the South, everyone's telling you what you should be doing. You should be modeling. You should be playing basketball every time I see people. So I was like, okay, well, I love basketball. I love modeling. My dad's like, modeling's out. Don't even think about it. So that was done. And then as far as basketball, I tried out for the junior high team, and because I never played, I'm in the country. Yes, I do obstacle courses. I could run to catch the bus, mainly, because I rode the bus to school, but I had no coordination at all. I remember trying to dribble. I would lose the ball. I was tall. I had just had a growth spurt from 5'7" to about 5'10", so I was just tall and lanky with no coordination, so I didn't make the team, and I was devastated. I also tried out for cheerleading. I didn't make that either because I could barely breathe. I would hyperventilate when I tried to cheer and jump up and down. So I went into high school with very low confidence and very low self-esteem because I tried out for these two teams, and looking at my physique, you're like, oh, she's tall and slim. Of course she can play sports. Of course she can do something. But because I didn't have the practice, I couldn't do anything. So the first break that I got was track and field because all I had to do was run around the track, and I was used to that from catching the bus. So I made the track and field team, and my first year as a freshman, I made it to the state event on the 4x4 relay. And I was so excited. I remember we were so excited about going to state, making it through all the finals and semifinals. Half of our team was doing all kinds of things they weren't supposed to do the day before. And I think we didn't even make it around the track because we were so just out of it the actual day of the meet because we were so happy that we got there. We partied, we had a good time, and we completely lost. My sophomore year, I was a little more focused. I was like, okay, I can do this thing called track and field. I started high jumping. My coach, Dorrington Reed, he got a mattress, an old mattress, and he got a septic tank pole. He's like, here, try to jump over this. And I remember not even being able to flop, but just scissoring, hopping up, putting one leg over and the other in the septic tank and falling on this mattress. It was quite painful because, of course, it's not like a proper high jump mat, but I was good at it. I could jump, I could run, and that's how my track and field career started. And that's how I became a track and field athlete. I went to state the next year myself, solo, with the relay, but also in the high jump and the triple jump, because there was the high jump, triple jump, and I think I also ran, the 400. And I did very well. And that year, track again, it was just like, okay, I'm great at it. I never did, look at the games or just aspire at this point to be a track and field Olympian or anything. I was more concerned, like, how can I get on the basketball team? So after I won the state track event, I asked my track coach, can you please get me on the basketball team? Because my dad loves basketball. Here I am, a daddy's girl. So I'm like, get me on the basketball team because I know if I get on the basketball team, my dad will be happy. So my track coach talked to the basketball coach, like, hey, Corey wants to play basketball. She's great. She can play great defense. She's really active. She's a good kid. Let her on the team. And the coach reluctantly, because we had a losing season at that time, so they had really nothing to lose by having a great defender and another additional tall girl on the team. So they were like, okay, yeah, she can ride the bench. So I started playing basketball also, and I rode the bench my sophomore year. My junior year, I got most improved, and my senior year, I got MVP. And the same senior year, I, elevated in the track career as well, and I ended up winning the state meet and the high jump and, at the time, the pentathlon, which was 5 events. So that's kind of like my track and field in high school growing up career.
Oh, wow, you definitely did a lot during your time in high school, not just in track and field, but also the short time that you had being on the basketball team. And definitely with your track and field career, you transitioned from high school now into college at Wichita State University. Now, you competed in the high jump and heptathlon competitions. You were also a conference champion in the Missouri Valley Conference in the high jump competition. Tell our audience a little bit about your time at Wichita State and also becoming a conference champion in that event.
Well, it wasn't easy. I think transitioning, especially after doing well in basketball, too, I had the option. Do you want to play basketball in college or do you want to run track and field? And I think my first year at Wichita State, I was thinking about doing both of them, running track and playing basketball. But when I went to the basketball training, it was very much a different world. Like, the women there were different. They weren't really friendly to me. They were like, who is this girl? And I didn't feel as welcome. But when I went to the track side and I met the track team and the coaches, it was like a warmer feeling, and I felt like I belonged more there. So after my first couple months of training and being very worn out from doing basketball practice and track and field practice, I decided to let basketball go and focus on track and field. So my first year in track and field at Wichita State, I did very well. I was about third place in the high jump and the heptathlon. I was in the top 5, and I was slated to win it my sophomore year because even my first year, I was really fast, and I transitioned from a college. The first year I went to Wichita State, and many people don't know this, but I wanted to stay close to home, so I went to UT Martin. And I had trauma, like one of my friends got assaulted when we went on what do you call it? When you go to the college, you go for like a freshman visit. And I was really nervous about going far away from home for school, so I stayed close to UT Martin. Well, I gained, instead of the freshman 15, I gained the freshman 25 pounds. My first year there, I didn't do great. I went from jumping 5'8" in high school to jumping 5'4", and it was just I got like haze, even though I didn't even join a sorority. It was a really rough year for me, my freshman year. And the track coach, he was like, you know what, it looks like you're having a hard time. I know you're a good person, you're a good student. Why don't you go with me to Wichita State? So that's actually, because everyone's like, how and why Wichita? It's like the middle of nowhere. No one's heard about it. Out of high school, I got scholarships to all the biggest schools in the world. But because of that trauma during my freshman year visit, I was so scared to go away from home, and I wanted to stay close to my family, and I also took care of my family a lot. Like I cooked for them and cleaned for them and just was really a big family person. So, but the first year after having a really bad season, my coach was like, you know what, you need to go to Wichita with me and start all over. You can't eat whatever you want to eat. Even though I was enjoying those newfound curves that I had, especially being from the South, I went from like 115 pounds to 125 pounds. I was like, yay, but that did not help my track career. So I transferred to Wichita State. I got more savvy about what I was eating. I realized that I couldn't eat whatever I wanted. I had to eat smart. So I cleaned up my diet, started training, and then after that first year, I did very well and was slated to win it. Well, after my first year, I was training. My first year at Wichita, I was training, and I actually got a stress fracture in my lower back. And I went to the doctor, and they're like, yeah, you got a stress fracture in your fourth lumbar. You are going to be out for the season. And so after having a really bad freshman year at UT Martin, starting all over, because you always get a redshirt year in college, starting all over at Wichita State, having a great year, and then having to sit out was devastating. I was like, I've already lost a year by going to the wrong school, and now, so I went into, like, just a very dark state of, what am I going to do with my life? What will I do without track and field? This has got me a full ride to college. At that point, I was like, I want to go to the Olympics. I want to make a difference in the world. I want to inspire women worldwide. And now all my dreams are over with the stress fracture. And that's how I found yoga, because my teacher was like, hey, Chloe, you can't be crying in class. You need to get yourself together. So she sent me to the counselor. And the counselor said, you know what, you should try yoga. And at that time, of course, being raised as a Southern Baptist, I didn't know what yoga was. And all I knew about was it had to do with Buddha, and I was worried about if I'd be worshiping idol gods and things like that. And my counselor was like, no, it's just stretching. And it was true. Like, after I learned more about yoga, my intro to it was just stretching and connecting to spirit. But I didn't realize that then. All I realized is that I can't touch my toes. My hamstrings are super tight. Why am I doing a headstand? I'm not cut out for this. I felt super intimidated. I was like, I don't belong here. I'm an athlete. I don't want to do yoga. I don't want to sit still. This is annoying. Like, all the things that people say to me now, I just laugh because I'm like, I feel you. I was there. Trust me, it gets better. I swear it gets better. So, but I went through that, and after about my second class, the teacher came to me. She saw me struggling, and she was like, you know, Chloe, I just want you to breathe with me. And she took a breath with me, and then in that moment, I felt a connection to spirit, which I didn't know at the time, but I felt this tingling sensation all over my body, and I knew I was in a good space, because that's what I felt when I got baptized when I was a little girl, and I was like, this is the Holy Spirit. I know what it is. I'm following this thing. And so after a year of doing yoga and training, I did a lot of water aerobics and water training as well. I came back to win the conference meet in the heptathlon and the high jump, and I led Wichita State women to their first conference championship.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. And, again, sometimes, we stumble upon things, whether it be through an injury or an accident or whatever, and certainly yoga helped you out, not just recovering from that stress fracture. You were able to make a difference on your team at Wichita State. So after college, I want to transition into yoga. You mentioned it earlier. A lot of our people in the African American community are jumping onto the benefits of yoga. For those that have never done it before, display some of the benefits and how it helps you in terms of as far as flexibility and gaining strength.
More than anything, what I realized is that, especially growing up as a Southern Baptist, and most, people in the African American community are spiritual, is that we get that feeling of connection to community and connection to God on Sunday. And we forget about it for the rest of the week, and we get it again on Sunday. And, and some of us practice reading the Bible every day or praying every day or at least praying at meals, and that's beautiful because that's another way to connect. What I found through yoga, especially when I do yoga, meditation, and pranayama, which is breath work, in the morning, is that every morning you're connecting with your soul, or some people might say the Holy Spirit, because that is our guide. That's like with the Trinity, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. That is what's with us to guide us in our path. And so if we're going throughout our day without connecting, but only connecting on Sunday, and sometimes there's no connection on Sunday either, then we can end up being lost and feeling like there's no connection, when the truth is, like footprints in the sand, God is always there. Love is always there. Spirit is always there to guide us and be with us. And so to me, yoga is actually more than the poses. It's more than flexibility. It's more than strength. It's a connection to spirit. And through that, I was able to find my healing through stretching, which, not only increases the flexibility in your joints and ligaments, but it also improves blood flow. That improved blood flow helps you heal different areas of your body, helps you strengthen different areas of your body, helps you relieve stress and tension that you experience emotionally and deposit into your different body parts. So it helps on a mental, a spiritual, and a physical level. And that's why I feel like everybody in the world should practice yoga and meditation, because it's so beneficial to our bodies in so many different ways. And as far as like the strength goes, I feel like when we build muscles, especially me being an athlete, we're building all of this acid in the body, if you will, all this lactic acid, because when we build a muscle, we make small little tears, and the over repair of those muscles is how we build a bigger muscle and how we get stronger. Well, the acid that produces, the lactic acid produces to help keep us from injury, if we work out too much without the proper rehabilitation, our body is just full of acid. And that acid doesn't promote our greatest health, because we all know we need an alkaline body, So I try to talk to people about doing things like meditation and doing things like yoga helps move around some of that lactic acid. It helps increase the blood flow so that we heal quicker, we get stronger quicker, and not only with the strength and being rigid, we have flexibility. So we just don't have strong muscles. We have strong, flexible muscles, which are great for sports. It's great for your daily life, just moving around and having mobility. It's great if you're just a deaf person who's not even at all interested in working out or exercise. It's great to have flexible joints and muscles just so you can just go through your everyday life, so you can pick things up, put them down. If you have kids, so that you can pick up your kids and play with your kids. And, being mobile and moving and living an active lifestyle is so important for our health, mentally, spiritually, and physically.
I want to go back to what you said about yoga being a connection to the spirit and to the soul. In the Black community, another connection to our spirit and soul is food. We love to eat, we're human beings, and especially in the Black community, food is another connection to the spirit and the soul. You've made a mentioning about you becoming a vegan. We have a problem in our country with food deserts. What do you do to spread the word about food deserts, and also letting people know about a vegan diet and just eating healthy in general?
Well, at the end of the day, a plant-based diet is more sustainable than a diet consuming animal products or pieces or secretions. Plant-based diet is by far the easiest to produce, the easiest to maintain, and it uses less of our resources so that it's not causing global warming. So in food deserts and in every other part of the world, if we promote gardening, if we promote learning how to get all of the nutrients that you need through a plant-based diet, we're going to see less and less food deserts, because we're actually feeding our grains, nuts, and seeds to people who don't have a lot to eat, instead of feeding it to animals and then eating those animals that then infect us because we've abused them. You see, so you have this vicious cycle of abuse and violence, whereas if you are cultivating living foods, living plants, living grains, and we're eating living foods, it's much more sustainable. And especially in food deserts, one thing that I love, and people give it a lot of flack, but one thing I love about online shopping and markets is that you can get those resources in food deserts where they don't have the grocery stores and they don't have the resources, and all they have is a McDonald's or all of the toxic food. But unless we educate people in the world and in these areas, then they're not going to know where to reach out. And so I think a good resource is, Amazon.com, going on there, getting, rice and beans and vegetables and things. They don't have to be expensive. But yeah, if you go to your closest Whole Foods that's like 20 miles away, you spend gas, and so I think online shopping is really great for food deserts and people in food deserts to get the foods that they need, and also learning that a plant-based diet is more sustainable because you're not going to have all the congestive heart failure. You're not going to have hypertension, high blood pressure that you have from eating toxic animal products and foods that have pollutants, like the fake foods they give you at the cheap dollar stores. Those foods are terrible, and that's what's available on the food deserts. Like the food that's worth $1 is not even worth 15 cents. And if we get off of those foods and just get real fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and grains into these communities, then to me, that's the solution.
I want to stay on the topic with food and the plant-based diet. Do you have clients that come to you and ask for a consultation? And if so, do you tell them the importance of a plant-based diet, or do you kind of work with them on special needs that they have for their diet?
I tell everybody about the importance of a plant-based diet, and I also meet people where they are. So the first important thing for anyone is to eat real food. So whether you're eating 100% plant-based or not, you really want to start eating real whole foods. So when I say that, I mean not just lean cuisine or packaged products that have high sodium and high amounts of high fructose corn syrup and boxed things. I try to get people out of canned goods and into packaged goods. So things, instead of getting the beans out of the can, also you can get cheap beans out of a package. You just need to add water. So teaching people the 2-to-1 ratio, 2 cups of water, 1 cup of beans, 2 cups of water, 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of water, 1 cup of quinoa, how to really make it so they're not going to the can, because the can has chemicals and also, the can opening and all this stuff. That's not great for us. So teaching people how to put together these beans, rice and beans and legumes so they have complete proteins in the plant-based diet is the number one. And also how to get vegetables from co-ops and CSA, which is, community service places that group together, and they might go to the different vendors or gardens in the area and then come together and share food so that you can afford it better. So when you buy food in bulk, we all know you can share. So I really like to talk to families about getting other families in the neighborhood, bonding together. If you do, especially live in a food desert, go in together, get a bigger amount so that you can save money over time. And that's the way people can afford. So I meet people where they are. I first get them to get the toxic food out of the diet. And if they are eating any type of animal protein, making sure that it's from a quality source. It's not contaminated. Some people eat animals. They have boils on the chicken. It's not kosher. It's very, very low quality. So I'm talking to someone that, is not ready to go 100% plant-based. I try to direct them towards, limiting their animal consumption to at least, first I start with once a day, and then I go to once a week until finally they're able to realize, like, oh, I do feel better on a plant-based diet, and I think I can do this. So I just work with people where they are, and usually I follow a system called crowding out. So you just continue putting the good things in your diet. So you start with a smoothie a day. If you can do a smoothie or maybe fruit for breakfast, and then you add in a salad. Everyone can find a salad or do a salad or vegetables. And then, usually either lunch or dinner, if there's something there, just realizing how much energy you can get from fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds is how I usually introduce the plant-based diet. And usually people receive it very well because they realize over time, like, man, I actually feel better. I feel more energy when I cut out this chicken and this turkey and this roast beef and steak and all these things. I used to eat those things too. I used to eat all of those things. I used to fry a pig in the parking lot at our church down the street from my place. I used to be the best at marinating steaks. I remember when I went vegan, my brothers were like, "But can you at least still cook us the food? You know you love us." And like you were saying earlier, like food is love and food is soul. Well, not really. You know, food is how we connect as a community. So if we can connect over fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, we can still keep that connection. But it's hard because a lot of our rituals and coming together is around food. It's not the actual food, because if you think about it, the actual food, those animals have suffered, have been raped, have been pumped full of hormones, have been abused, and then here we are consuming them. Ain't nothing spiritual about that. Like, nothing. But what's beautiful is that we've developed these Thanksgiving and Christmas and birthdays where we make food for people. We make it taste good. We put our intention and love into the food. So even though it's been through these things, it's the love of the preparation and the intention about offering something to our loved ones. That's where the spirit is. That's where the love is. It's in the person and in the intention, not in the food. And that's why we have to get clear. So then when we start to let these things go, we realize we are not letting go of culture. Keep the culture of cooking for your family. Keep the culture of seasoning with love and curry and barbecue and spices. But do it with things that are cultivated out of love, not abused, not gathered in violence, but things that have been grown for our consumption, have been learned and provided and harvested for our best health. And that is fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds.
That's well put right there. You said a mouthful on that one right there. So tell our listening audience out there, where can they find you on social media and the website?
They can find me on Instagram. My handle is Koya Webb, KoyaWebb. They can also find me on Facebook and Twitter under Koya Webb, and my YouTube channel, which you can also find under Koya Webb or Fitness, Food, and Fun. And anyone can get a hold of me if they need to email me at Koya Webb on Gmail.
Koya Webb. Koya, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a blessed day, and thank you so much for what you're doing to make the world a better place.
Thank you so much. I appreciate those words. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into the channel. Remember to click like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.